All right, so I just got back from traveling around Europe, saw a bunch of things from a honeymoon, and I'm a huge fan of the Paleolithic art. It's great, simple, just little lines and zigzag and such. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do is to draw me a little line star. Could you turn up a little bit more? The people in the back say they can't hear. All right, is that good for the people in the back? Sweet. This is really kind of crazy. I'm not used to having a speaker behind me. Anyway, so I really enjoy the Paleolithic art, and here's a great example that you guys can do today. When you look at this, what's the first thing you notice about this particular picture if I asked you to draw it? What would you do first? Sure. Okay, yeah, she was saying that she'd have to figure out how to make it turn. All right, so what is it that's turning in this particular image? Okay, so you have a turtle. What's the shape the turtle's making though? So what I'm trying to elaborate on is when you first start looking at a particular problem, you might notice it does look rather complex when you first look at it. But the best thing to do is break it down into its constituent parts. What's the simplest element of this entire piece? Excellent. All right, so how do we draw a line? All right, so the first little bit of that is, let's make a function that draws a line. Okay, it's going to take two parameters, right? Two things to define a line. What might those two parameters be? Could you speak up? Okay, so the size of the line. So, okay. So you have the size of the line in this particular picture, just the width of the line, or how long you want to draw that line out, right? Excellent. I'm actually going to do a little bit different than you suggested. I could do it that way, but I'll show you how I think of it first, and we can switch it to make it take a turtle as a parameter. All right, so we have the length of the line, right? And what else defines the line? What's different about all these different lines? There we go. All right. What do I have to end it with? Excellent. Okay. Now, the first step to drawing the line is to create a turtle, right? What do we want to call our turtle? Mike? The Mike turtle. All right. And how do you create a turtle? Excellent. All right, now I do turtle here. And then how do I create a new one? And it's just a function, so it creates a turtle that way. Okay, now, where does the turtle start? Very center at 0, 0. How do I make him draw a line? Okay, so I do Mike. I'm walking forward now. Okay, now how far should I make him walk? Okay, the length. I like that. Okay, now what? Done? How do I tell it to turn around? Okay, so I could do like that, right? Excellent. And I'm all done, right? No? So how about I just have a number of turtles? We could pick up the turtle and move around and such, but how about we just do this? What happens if I do draw a line now? Not used to typing on a Mac keyboard, it's a little crazy. All right, let's do 200 and an angle of 0. Okay, looks like a good line. It's not centered, though. In the picture I had, it was centered. How do I change that to make it centered? I could do that. Well, how far from the center is the edge of the line? Half the length. Excellent. So if we only go half the length, how do we do that? I know I'm being a brat asking all these questions. Okay, that would work. I like divide by 2. It's a little bit easier to read. Fewer characters. All right, so if we go forward half the length, and then we go backwards half the length, we're back at the center, but we've only drawn half the line. So how far should we go back? Okay, and then now I'm at the end of the line, though. So how do I go back to the center? Excellent. All right, let's try that out. Excellent, I have a line. Now, what if I change the angle? What if I say this should be at 90 degrees instead? Because the second parameter there is the angle. If I run it, oh, it's still at 0 degrees. So how do I tilt the line? Excellent. How do you turn it? Let's say left. Where do I want to make it turn left? Well, it'd be angle units, but where do I want to do that? Do I want to do it at the very beginning? Or do I want to do it in the middle or the end? The middle? Okay. Let's try that. This middle or this middle? There's 2 middles, that's weird. This one right here? All right, so if I do Mike.left angle, let's get rid of that extra space. Space is a commodity here. All right, so my line didn't quite go where I wanted it to, but we're really close. It turned, and it turned 90 degrees. This is good. I might have been alluding to it when I was asking where I should put it. After the last mic? Well, then he's just going to be sitting at a different angle at the very end. He will stop drawing the line at that point. So only one option left. At the beginning, yeah. It auto-indented it for me. Rude. All right, excellent. And now if we do that, draws it at 90 degrees. Okay, now we're not quite there yet. What I wanted was a function that would draw me a star with a certain number of lines. I've got a function that draws me lines. How do I tell it to draw a certain number of lines then? Excellent. So we can get rid of this for now. Make a new function. What do we want to call this function?
Can you go down a little bit so I can see what's going up there?
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
I'll actually make this a little bigger because we'll type out some more. All right, so I want to draw out the star. So what would we like to call it? Any suggestions? Something descriptive? Really? Come on, guys. There we go. It's pretty descriptive, and the number of lines and lines. Okay, now what's the first thing I want to do, or what do I want to do in this function? I'm trying to draw out multiple lines, each at successive angles, right? So what kind of structure or what kind of instruction do I need to tell the computer to do if I want to do something over and over again? Excellent. For what, though? What's different about each one of the lines? The angle. So I want to change the angle and have it plotted out for different angles. All right, so for angle, now I need a list. I need a range of things to assign to angle. How would I do that? I could do range. That works. Now, what would my arguments to range be? Well, as it's written right now, range will assign something, will assign a variable to, or a value to angle. So the number of lines will factor in somehow in this. Yeah, so a circle has 360 degrees. So you want to start at 0. What's that over here? Didn't quite catch who did that. And then 360. Okay, if I do it right now, if I just told this to draw me lines, so I want to do draw a line. Length, let's do another 200. 200's good. And then angle. What it's going to do is it's going to draw me 360 lines. Do I want to draw 360 lines? How many lines do I want to draw? 6. Okay, 6 is a good option. Or how about n lines? We'll just keep it vague for now. You know, not pin ourselves down. So how do I tell range not to do every single one? Excellent. How do I do that? Okay, excellent. I add a comma. But what do I put there? Well, n lines would be the number of lines. So if I wanted 5 lines, that would be every 5. So 5 goes into 360 more than 5 times. But good, very close. Okay, so 45. Sure, that's a fixed number. We can try that. What happens if we run this? Didn't draw anything. It's peculiar. Does anyone know why? We didn't? Where didn't we call it? We have draw lines right here. Draw lines says make a new turtle, and draw a line with it.
Because you're in the star function, you gotta call it the star function.
Good. So let's make a star with 10 lines. Excellent. It's not the quickest turtle, Mike. It's very slow. Might be saying something about me. Excellent. So we have a star. We're very close. But does it have 10 lines? Nope. How do we fix that? We subdivided the circle into 360 degrees. Well, if you subdivide it into 10 equal spots, how many degrees do you use per chick? Excellent. How'd you do that? Yeah, 360 divided by 10. Well, if we're trying to figure out what our step is, let's do 360 divided by n lines. Oops. Why did it give me an error?
You don't know what inline is, you don't know if it's an integer or a float.
So when you divide two integers, you get a floating point number. Step says it has to be an integer. So how do I force a floating point number into an integer? How do I do that? Okay, so I could call int on it. That'd work. Let's try that. Excellent. what is it doing right now? It's redrawing the same lines over and over again, right? It's because when you have a line, it extends to one side of the screen to the other. And if you rotate the circle all the way around, you get the same line again. So just one final piece here you'll want to change. We only want to go to 180. And we can run that. And we get nice stars. Any questions? Hmm? How many lines is that? Mm-hmm. Because instead of drawing over themselves, I drew separate lines for each one. So what I could have done, and you could kind of notice this, there's a little pack of turtles sitting here. One of the suggestions at the very beginning was to create a turtle and then use it as a parameter to the draw function. And I could have done that. And in that case, I would have only had one turtle instead of having a nice semicircle of them at the bottom.